Well, when we talked uh, weeks and weeks ago about the possibility of the fight coming up with Mayweather and Pacquiao, and there was a lot of talk going around that the fight was made or wasn't made, this, that, what have you. I got some information from what I would call an inside source from HBO, and a friend of mine who's been there for forever at HBO, and he is one of those kind of guys that is real reliable. So when he told me the fight's done, it was made, it's done. There's no question about the fight. It's in. That's when I broke the news to you to tell you and tell our fans out there that the fight was actually made. And they were still talking days and days after that it hadn't been made, but the truth of the matter was it was made.
Right. So now that the fight is taking place, we were just talking about it, and you were talking about some new interesting points about how Pacquiao has a good chance in the fight. Why don't you explain?
Well, months and months ago, I thought this fight was really a real cinch for Mayweather, and not for a fact that Pacquiao's not a great fighter. That had nothing to do with it. But I just kind of felt that Mayweather's abilities were just too much for Pacquiao. And then after you watch him against Marquez, and then after you watch him against Cotto and a few other guys, Pacquiao, and you compare him with what they did and how he did in those fights compared to what Mayweather did to these guys. And you know what? That, to me, and I've always believed this when guys say to me, well, look what he did with so-and-so. Well, I'm not so-and-so. I'm not so-and-so. You're fighting Floyd Mayweather. You're not fighting so-and-so. You're fighting me. You understand? Or you're not fighting Mike Tyson. You're not fighting Joe Blow. You're fighting Mike Tyson. You understand? So it's a lot different from the guy's perspective. And I want to always go to what the guy is. And that's what I've kind of like always tried to do with Mayweather. But Mayweather is he's a real difficult guy in a real sense to compare to this or compare to that. His punch count is not high. I had a very good conversation days ago with Mike Tyson about Mayweather's punch count and per round, and that can become some kind of an issue. And I've never really delved into these. The guy threw 500 right hands, or a guy threw 16 left hooks, or I've never really got into that in boxing because you know what? It really doesn't really make a lot of sense to me when you start to add up. But when you start to talk about how many punches a guy throws around and the fatigue that can set in in those rounds when you're fighting at a high level like these guys are fighting at. Now, Tyson said to me the other day, he said, he's not used to being up over 50 punches around Mayweather, 50 or 60 punches around, and Pacquiao is. So there's some validity to the fact that Pacquiao has this higher punch count or throwing account with Mayweather, which makes a whole lot of sense. Because now what you're going to find out, hopefully we're going to find this out, and I've been waiting on this for a long, long time, to see Floyd in some serious exchanges. Now, how that happens is because Pacquiao is a southpaw, and he could take that step over. He could take that right step over, put his foot over there outside of Mayweather, and engage him, and engage Mayweather into a fight, which now Floyd's got to fight him off. You understand? So these because he's a southpaw and because he's quick, very, very quick, Pacquiao, very, very quick. He's got quick feet too. So Mayweather's going to have to use his right hand in this particular fight because he's fighting the southpaw, number one. And number two, when Pacquiao makes that step over here, he's going to have to use that right hand. And that's going to enhance him, to me. That's going to enhance this exchange in the Pacquiao. And I don't know, what we don't know, and hopefully we'll see that night in the early rounds, is that we'll see numerous of these exchanges with Mayweather and Pacquiao. And hopefully, as a fan's gift, we'll get to see Mayweather up over 50 or 60 punches in per round. And if he does that, you're going to see a real bang out of a fight here. If Pacquiao can push him into the 50 and 60 count, and by round 7 or 8, we're going to see, you don't know what you're going to see. That's the common denominator, as we might call it in the world of boxing. The common denominator is to make Mayweather fight and push him into the 60 or 70 punch bracket in each round, and that's a tough toll to have. But Pacquiao's done that before. He's done that. So, and bear in mind, guess what? If Mayweather is throwing back, there's no telling how successful he's going to be, because Pacquiao's also quick on the upstairs level. If you watch Pacquiao, when he doesn't really like lean backwards or lean this, he leans inside a lot of times, and I've watched him do this a number of different times, which makes him quicker to get to you, and that's what's been the success for him was with Cotto, was with Margarita, and a few other guys that I watched him fight, which once he gets close to you, his hand movement is very, very quick on the inside. So I'm excited about seeing this fight really happen. Unfortunately, I won't be here. I'm going to Louisville. I'm going to Louisville for the Kentucky Derby on May the 2nd. This will be my fourth Kentucky Derby, but I'm excited to hear about and watch the fight over the television on the pay-per-view live from Kentucky. So
okay, so what's your prediction? Are you still think Mayweather's going to win?
I'm like the sports books right now. All of the sports books and so-called experts in Las Vegas. I'm not an expert. I'm far from what these guys are. These guys are experts. I mean, these guys will tell you how many rounds they think the guy can go, and like in football, they can tell you how many points are going to be scored in the game. I can't do that. But what I can tell you is I really believe that if Pacquiao can get Mayweather into the 50s and the 60s in the punch count per round, in the per round basis, I think that we got ourselves a one hell of a fight, in the fight that everyone expected 7 or 8 years ago to happen. And if they can get into that punch count, in that high of a punch count, and Mayweather's there, I'm going with Floyd. I'm going with Floyd because I think that Floyd's ability, and I'm going to use this again, as Sugar Ray Leonard did with Marvin Hagler. I'm going to go with Floyd because I think that Floyd's ability to even move to his right and use his right hand, and when you saw Floyd, and I remember this against Diego Corrales, when Mayweather went to his right, he was very successful using his right hand. But somewhere along the line, that right hand has problems. I don't know what it is, and I don't know. Mayweather hasn't really talked about it, but he has said in times past in certain fights that right hand has been damaged. That right hand's been damaged, and he, in fact, one of the fights, I couldn't remember if it was Canelo or one of the fights, he was having problems after the fight with his right hand, and he said he needed to get this hand fixed before he got back into the ring. I think it was the Canelo fight. So I'm just saying to you and to the public that Mayweather going over here to his right, in which he's going to have to do once Pacquiao makes that step over and forces him to go there, he's going to have to use his right hand. And by the way, guess what? What most of us do know that are in the boxing world, when you're fighting a southpaw, your most lethal weapon is the right hand down the middle. When that guy steps over or he comes into you, when he walks to you, that right hand is the enforcer. So we've seen great fighters in the past, Sugar Ray Robinson, Muhammad Ali, various technical guys that have fought southpaws and used their right hand and used that weapon very, very well. And we're gonna get a chance now to see Mayweather orchestrate that right hand. And he's going to have to orchestrate that right hand to beat Pacquiao, and that's my belief. But I am going to go with Floyd. I'm going to stick with Floyd. I think he's the best fighter, and I think he's the best fighter in the last 10 to 12 years that we've seen in boxing for quite some time. And I think that his smartness is going to come into play on May the 2nd. I think that his brain is going to react to knowing what he's got to do in order to make Pacquiao pay for the mistakes that he makes. And so I'm going to go with Floyd Mayweather on May the 2nd.
Okay, that's what it is. I appreciate your time.
You got it.